the meeting.
I'm not going to answer it then.
On August 5th, after the voting was over, when we were talking, you came up to me and you expressed that some of the board members feel threatened by the Show Point's presidential charge group on the 2nd. And I know that that wasn't your sentiment as you made it clear to me. I remember at the meeting, Ms. Laura Bush, and I'm not attacking, I'm just basing on what she said. Again, she says, I'm quoting her, I don't like to be threatened. And while I understand that's not your sentiment, but based on what you told me, that some of the board members who voted to close Show Point felt threatened, do you think, just from your opinion, that they based that decision because they feel threatened or because they feel that it was the right thing to do? Because Broad River was number one. Show Point was not number one on the list on May 31st. And then it kind of spiraled down that they put Show Point back on top again.
You're asking me a question I'm not sure I can answer because I can't get inside their heads. I mean, I know that Mrs. Bush said publicly that she didn't like being threatened.
Right. Is that what she meant though for Show Point?
I don't know. I mean, it came on the heels of the comment about Show Point forming a charter school. So I don't know if the two are connected. I mean, you'd have to ask Mrs. Bush and whether any of the other board members felt threatened. I don't know.
Just remember, did you feel threatened?
No.
Oh, good. And that's what one.
I'll do a better job next time.
I tell people go, oh, I can't believe it. I said, look, and I said this earlier jokingly, that I had to deal with a lot more intimidating things as a high school principal than whether I made a decision on this or not. I mean, when I worked in California, we were in Central California and we had some very active, very violent gangs that lived in our school attendance area. The kids attended our school and that kind of thing. I mean, you want to be intimidated, you stand on a corner on a Friday night at 10 o'clock and you tell 5 guys that you know are carrying weapons who are drunk that they can't come to the school dance. That's being intimidated, because you sit there going, what am I going to do if this guy reaches in his coat pocket? Where am I going to go next? Kind of thing. So, I mean, that's being intimidating. But, no, I mean, I imagine that there's people that don't think I have any emotion about this. I have a lot of emotion about this, okay? I went through it with my own kids when I was out in California, when they were in school and we were changing attendance lines and that kind of thing. And so I think I understand the emotion around it. I don't profess that I understand everybody's personal feelings, but I think I can attach myself to them. Like I've always said, and I think I said this very consistently, I represent a part of the school district, but I like to think that my responsibility is for the whole school district. And that when I make decisions, that I look at them in that regard, okay? And I felt that the savings that we would make with Shell Point, the partial closings, the early learning centers, justified us doing it because of the impact it was going to have going down the road. Does it cover all of our costs? No, it's not. We're going to have to find other things. And I also expect that we're likely next January, February, March to go back and find ourselves cutting some things. Okay?
You're sure that's going to be something for your school?
Frankly, I don't see how it can be a school with our present configuration. I know that there's people who are concerned about the 5th graders moving out of Port Royal, that would make it more eligible to be closed. I don't think so, because I think we end up with the same problems that drove me not to vote to close Port Royal. That is, we close the school, we make no savings because the building doesn't belong to us, and we actually incur costs, okay, that don't exist right now. So I don't know where the school unless something drastic happened in the community with the military bases or with the economy. You know, I'm not sure how the economy can get much worse than it is, but that's, you know, kind of thing. But that's, you know, that's another whole issue.
Wouldn't closing Well Branch Early Learning High School have create much more savings and in fact mean much less students?
Closing Well Branch High School would have not saved us a single empty seat at the middle school or high school.
It would,
Or middle school or elementary school, which is where, let me finish, Carl. I've got two parts to this. You know, yes, there's been a long history of dissension about Well Branch High School, okay? I worked for the district all the way through that, okay? Closing that school wouldn't have done anything about the empty seats we have at the elementary and middle school level. It would have filled 500, well, there's 516 kids at Well Branch High School right now, okay? It would have put those 516 kids back in Battery Creek High School and would have filled those empty seats at Battery Creek. It wouldn't have done anything about any other middle school or elementary school empty seats. And we wouldn't have been any savings. I also question what we would have gained. We would have saved some operating costs, but we would have had a $40 million building sitting out there that I am sure would have been vandalized. I can't imagine who would use it. The only possible tenant I could see would be TCL, and I can't imagine that they were going to move off of Rebo Road right here and put their campus out there all of a sudden. I just don't see that. The other thing, and this was always the compelling argument to me for why we had Well Branch High School and Well Branch Middle School, okay? And that was the travel times that those kids were experiencing to go to middle school and high school before we built those schools, okay? They were, because I was working for the district at that time, I knew it. We had kids that were getting on buses at 5:45 in the morning and getting home at 4:30 at night. They had longer days than anybody else. I felt very compelled that they were not getting the same kind of educational opportunities as their peers across the rest of the county. And they certainly had very limited opportunity to get involved with extracurricular activities, because a lot of those kids are because of the distances they travel, if they don't get on the school bus, they don't get home. I mean, there isn't, you know, it's the close-in or tight population simply isn't the same out there. And they didn't have people that were going to pick them up at 5 o'clock after band practice or something. And that to me, now I know that there's a broad perception that it was out in the community, and it was certainly broadly spoken and expressed that was just a political act to get that part of the county kind of a school of their own. Everybody else had schools, so why don't they have schools? It certainly ended up also serving that purpose, but my belief, if I had been on the board at that time, I would have been compelled to vote for it because I thought it was the right thing to do for kids, to give them the same opportunities that everybody else had, which they weren't getting. I mean, they just weren't. I mean, you can't ask a middle school kid or even a high school kid to get on a bus at 5:45, 5:50 in the morning, riding an hour and a half into Battery Creek High School or Robert Smalls Middle School, and then take that same bus home at night and not get home until 4:30, and think that they're going to bring the same kind of interest and activity to school that their peers are, who, you know, are getting up at, you know, they're not getting up until those kids have already been on the bus for a half an hour.
Well, that's where the price you pay to live in the country, and, you know, it seems like this brick and mortar is more important than this brick and mortar. If the elementary school kids can do the same thing, drive over elementary, Well Branch students can drive just as well, and actually won't have 2-1 high schools, we'll have upstate high school. But anyway, seems like a hypocritical type, not you. And I think it's great for the community, but it seems like, you know, what's good for the goose and good for the gander. It's not the way.
Well, like I said, I wish I could go back 20 years, because I was here when they built the new Battery Creek High School. When I first got here, Battery Creek High School was the district office. What is the district office? Worst high school design I ever saw in my life. I mean, first time I walked in there, I went, oh my God, how do they supervise anybody in this place? Because it was just filled with all these little hallways, and it was a mess. I mean, 20/20 hindsight would be that we would have built the existing Battery Creek High School maybe out where Whale Branch High is right now, you know, and we would have been done with it. You know,
that would be great. But
of course, it'd all be great if we didn't have an ACUS zone and we could have built it someplace else and not have to worry about a jet coming down on it.
Well, I was 10 here at Beaufort when they built Shell Point and formed a community around it. And, Scott Bingham, one of the advocates that closed the Shell Point, he used to go on the website and change his commercial for his house. It says within walking distance of Shell Point.
Yeah.
I was searching some Shell Point stuff and I pulled up Scott's.
I wish we had that. You know, I grew up in post-war Philadelphia suburbs, and I rode my bike to school all the way through 6th grade. Okay, and probably the only thing that kept me from doing it for 7th and 8th grade and on was the fact that there was a major highway. It wasn't that far away, not for a kid on a bike. It was probably 3 miles from my house, but there was a major 4-lane road that I would have to ride on to get there. But you know, I understand the importance of that. I think it would be nice. It's just we're in an area that doesn't lend itself to that all the time.
Been lending it to himself for the last 41 years. And it's,
What else?
I mean,
We
really,
disagree. No.
We want to thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.